Good morning.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I almost got defeated by technology.
Oh, what happened?
I just don't know how to use Skype, apparently. So how is are you in Paris, right?
What's that?
You're in Paris right now, right?
No,
Oh.
no. I moved out of Paris 7 years ago.
Where are you?
I'm in south of France.
What's the name of the town?
It's called Pernes-les-Fontaines.
Pernes-les-Fontaines?
Yeah, and Les Fontaines means the fountains because we have 42 fountains. It's a small town and we have 42 fucking fountains.
Well, I mean, you gotta be known for something, right? In the United States, it would be like, yeah, we got the world's biggest tire. Like, or it'd be like, welcome to the town of two-headed. We got a two-headed chicken once. One, you know.
That is such a perfect, analogy. Yeah.
Right. I never intended to do these like this.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's just, yeah.
I just figured like this is a good opportunity for me to try something new.
Yeah. If you don't do it now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I told you on Twitter when you talked to me about Drawl that I had a similar idea, and I was in exactly the same place as you were. Creatively, I wanted to try something new with my partner, and we thought, well, what if we did like interviews of artists talking to another artist? It was like, oh, he's doing it at the exact same moment.
Well, the good news is that you could do them in French.
Yeah. I think it was a good idea of you to start that. It's gonna help a lot of people and who wants to get into art and inform and entertain people that don't necessarily want to get involved into comics, but are just curious about it.
And there's also the idea that like we're not all that different, and then when you put people's stories back to back to back to back, they might be from all these different places and look different and have different interests or whatever, but at the end of the day, if they're doing this and they're watching this video, then they probably have a lot more in common than they even understand. So with that in mind, I was doing a little bit of research. Did you draw at all when you were a kid?
Not especially, no. I mean, all kids draw, and I remember drawing a little bit when I was around 10 or 11.
I drew sneakers. I remember that, drawing sneakers.
You're already after my heart now.
Yeah, I was a tomboy, and I wore sneakers and sweaters and stuff like that. So I drew my clothes, but I kind of gave that up when I grew up and wanted to become a bit cool, which I never achieved. But I stopped drawing about that time, and I didn't pick up a pencil for until I was 25, 24, I think. Yeah.
Holy shit!
So my partner at the time was still my partner now. So we were to put that into context. We were both working or wanted to work in movies.
I was an aspiring actress, a terrible one at that, and Philippe was a cameraman. He filmed actors, so we wanted to do that, and we tried for a few years, and until we realized that it really wasn't for us at all. I think for my part, I loved movies.
And I kind of thought that acting in them would be for me. And it took me many, many years to realize that wasn't it at all. So I kind of quit.
I kind of quit that and was, kind of lost. I was 23, 24. I didn't have any education. I left school. I was 17, I think. And I knew I wanted to do something thing are artistic, but I wasn't sure what, or I was kind of lost, I guess. And around that time, Kevin discovered comics, and he introduced me to comics. But I kind of turned up my nose to it, because to me it was, and especially in France, we got really the superheroes, and that was it. And I wasn't really interested in superheroes, but he made me read Watchmen and said, that's comics too. And I loved it, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I mean, as a reader, okay, I could get into that.
And around that time, Charlie Adlard was doing a signing in Paris.
Right.
And Pierrick, who's my boyfriend, went to see him. And Charlie, hi, could I maybe borrow some minutes of your time? And I have a pitch, and I would like to maybe start writing comics, and could you maybe give me some pointers? And Charlie was very nice, but there was a lot of people, so he said, yeah, let's just email. Pierrick emailed him, never heard back, until about 2 or 3 months later. Charlie got back to him saying, I'll be in France in 2 weeks. Just come to my show where I'm going to be signing, and show me a pitch, Mm-hmm. So, but the thing is, Pierrick didn't have an artist. He kind of had an idea, but no, formal pitch.
Right.
And so he was kind of in a panic of, maybe wasting that opportunity. And so he asked me, would you maybe, I don't know, start drawing and draw me 5 pages so I can show them to Charlie.
How many days did you have to do 5 pages?
I had 2 weeks.
That's still not very long for your first 5 pages.
No, and so I was like, what the hell?
Uh-huh.
I had nothing to lose. I didn't know the guy, and we thought, it works. It'll just laugh at us, and it'll be a cute story.
Yeah.
And so we did the thing, and I did the 5 pages, which were, as you can imagine, absolutely terrible. And we went to see him. And it was extraordinarily nice. He sat with us for almost an hour, and he went over the script and the pages, and he just, told us, obviously you're just starting out. There are a lot of things to learn, but if you put the work, you seem to be passionate people. You seem to want to make something out of your life, and you can do it if you put your heart to it. And so we did, and for the next couple of years, Charlie and I emailed back and forth, and he kind of taught me how to draw, through email. I would send him my stuff, and he would just answer me, and he was a sweetheart, and that was so nice of him to, do that. And so after that whole sequence, Pierrick and I thought, what the hell? Let's just do comics, and that was it.
This is the most romantic story I've ever heard in my life.
Right. Back then, it was just kind of one thing after another, one chance that we took after another, and just everything. It's everything sprung out of desperation. I've always valued the importance of having nothing to lose. Because that's when you take the biggest chances.
So when we decided to, go for it and just start making comics. We were living in Paris at that time, and I could not picture myself having to keep a boring day job and coming back home and having to learn how to draw. And I thought, if I have to do that, I'm never gonna do it.
Gonna take too long. I'm already 25. I'm starting, to draw at 25. It's already late. I can't wait another, 5 or 6 years to be good enough to start showing my stuff. So we need to do this, full time. So 2 weeks later, we left Paris, and then we went back to my parents, and we lived with them for 1.5 years. Just the time to, start being comfortable enough to finally make some money and move out.
This is like a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's like, we're gonna rob a bank,
You should have done that. You didn't do much with her. To me, problem comes with problem solving, and
Yeah,
I
sure.
found that interesting. And your life is your adventure, and it's up to you to make it interesting. So yeah, we try as much as possible to make it interesting.
I think you said it the best right there, or I think you just said it the best, that like problem solving, because that's what I think the job is. The problem solving in comics is on a level that, I mean, it's almost like, imagine trying to act in a movie, make a movie,
Yeah. And that's also what makes it interesting to me, is that as a creator, providing that you can write, self-publish it, and you don't need anyone. And if you really want it to happen, you can make it happen alone.
Right.
Maybe you won't make money out of it, but you will be able to produce something. We did our first crowdfunding campaign, which was for our first book. Mm-hmm. I could not believe, when we received the books that we self-published. I was like, oh my God, we did that. It's a thing that exists in the world, and without us doing that work, this thing wouldn't exist. And it felt crazy to me.
That is the healthiest outlook I've ever heard. Because usually people are like, Jesus Christ, I wish it was better. Or,
there was a lot of that too. Yeah. But, just take a second to appreciate that you've put something into the world.
Throughout my life, like, I've had to make some pretty difficult, on the scale of career, had to make some difficult choices. But the thing that's always helped me through it at the end of the day is like, as long as I have a pencil, I can tell a story.
Yeah.
If it all gets torn down, people that make comics will just rebuild it.
Yeah, we'll find another way.
Yeah. Because it's like, we do a job that makes no sense on paper. Like, like when you try to explain it to someone, especially, in those early days before you did Star Wars or something.
My dad has a way of, I post some time, a random sketch of something in a totally different style. You should draw that way more often.
Jeez.
Well, thank you.
I didn't know you
were... Do a book like that.
Yeah. I didn't know you... Honey, I didn't know you were good. My mom always tells me, like, you should make a comic about the dog. That'd be a top seller. At what point did you feel like, all right, well, I'm in this now?
I was so lost for so long. I was depressed, and I was really feeling like I wasn't living the life I was supposed to. That's weird, Not that I was feeling entitled to something, but I knew that wasn't what I had in mind. And when we did that thing for Charlie, the release and the feeling of joy, excitement, and want, and that came to me after we did that. It was like there was no question that this was what we needed to do, and thank God I found comics.
Yeah,
and checked me comics, because I don't know what I would have become.
I completely relate to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very existential. I drank too much. I, just spiraled for a few years. And I quit drawing from about the age of 23 to 25. So okay. I had a 2-year gap where I didn't draw. I drew a lot less from 20 to 25. And I feel like that life experience really helps me, like, on the page in a way that, I don't know, it's hard to separate from, like, who you are from what you're putting on the page. I don't know if I would be that way anyway. And I was just wondering if, like, you have a similar experience, because, the pursuit of being an actor. Any of that translate?
Yeah, it did. But for a long time, I thought that it was normal and totally expected to feel really, really bad before doing a scene. I thought that was just the way it was, until I just asked myself the question, is it supposed to be that way? And I realized I don't like doing this.
Yeah.
And that thing when you've put so much work into something and you say, I can't quit right now. If I quit right now, it's like all this work and all those years have been for nothing. And so I kept at it way too long after I kind of realized it wasn't for me, because I didn't want to lose all that time. And I was like, I'm getting older and older and I have no education. I'm 25. I can't just quit and like, what the hell am I going to do? Until it became unbearable. And I realized, okay, I just have to stop, because this cannot get worse, What I learned and what I carry with me today is the psychology of a character.
Yep.
And how to approach facial expression and gesture.
So, for example, the technique that I studied is a kind of derivative of actors' studio methods. It's called Meissner.
An exercise, with another actor, or you have to pick a sentence. The first one comes up with a sentence. It can be, oh, you're drinking coffee.
And the other one has to repeat that sentence, but giving it a different intention. You're drinking coffee.
Yeah. Oh, you're drinking coffee. You say the same word, but it's just very different. And the idea is to focus on how it's said rather than what is said.
Right.
And it's a very good skill to have as an actor,
because you stop saying words and you express yourself, in emotion. And in that exercise, we also learn that we are, as human beings, a combination of emotions. We're just never just one thing. You're gonna be angry plus maybe love.
Angry plus, I don't know, sad. And when you combine all those emotions, when you are drawing on a single face, you can achieve a much more deep and true emotion that can resonate with the reader,
A lot of people can do broad, like big and broad, my sloppy analogy is always that I want it to be broad enough that it impacts you, that that you can't deny that there's something in the room. But it's the difference between, it's kind of apt given the book I do, I guess, but it's the difference between a caveman club and a baseball bat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to make a baseball bat. The caveman club is just a stick you found, and you can, and you can hit anybody with it. But a baseball bat can achieve the same purpose, but it also has levels to it. You can play a game with it. You can do very specific things with that stick as opposed to the big ugly club.
Yeah.
Your version of that was much more nicely put. Yeah, I don't think that anybody's time is ever really lost as long as they are looking forward, or trying to be curious.
And even if you have not done nothing, you have learned a valuable lesson that doing nothing is boring. And
right.
From now on, you're going to do stuff.
Yeah. Don't do that again. That's the lesson. Yeah, I always say, I'm not afraid. I try not to be afraid to fail. Because that's the only way I got here, was failing all the fucking time,
Yeah.
And we get really wrapped up in who we think we are.
It is natural to be afraid to fail, because it goes back to survival instinct. Your brain is fighting that.
Yeah.
And it's not just to say, stuff that you see on t-shirts and stuff, but we really do learn in failures.
Yeah.
So they are useful. I try not to be bummed by failures anymore. I try to see, what can we learn from that? And that makes it much more, interesting, and you learn self-acceptance.
I didn't try to make this about the quarantine, but we just gave, like, that's the best advice ever about what's happening right now. It's like, okay, we fucked up bad. Can we learn from this? When I was a kid, I thought, up to about the time I was 20, I was like, we're going to get through this. This is pretty boring life experience we're having. There's nothing really bad happening. From the time I was in my 20s to now, it's like 9/11, it's like I'm getting the full ride now.
Oh yeah.
I don't get to, like, my grandpa's stories are starting to become less and less like, oh, he lived this like hell of a life. It's like, I might get to say I had a Mad Max time before this is all said and done.